Hey friends, welcome back to the Aligned Lifestylist. My name's Corey and I'm so glad you're here. Today I'm recording a bonus episode and the reason is I don't know why, but today while I was going about my morning ritual and going through some of the things I'm going through and just then when I was getting ready today, I just kept having this thought of people need to understand that healing, finding getting rid of symptoms, getting past emotional stuff, it's not just a one and done, and there's not a quick fix. And there's so many things that come into play when you're trying to heal your mind, body, spirit. And so I wanted to share a little bit, maybe some more detail about my personal story that I haven't shared before and kind of what brought that up right now. So I if you're new to the podcast, welcome. Thank you for being here. And if you've come back, you've probably heard bits and pieces of my story. But I want to start with what got me doing what I'm doing right now, and as it's evolved over time, why it has evolved. But because I've been messaging back and forth with several of my clients over the last few days, and as I'm feeling the energy of their frustration with their journey, I'm like always trying to figure out how can I help them better? How can I help them move faster, like make the commitments to themselves, make better choices when it comes to old habits and belief systems and things like that. And as I've thought over that for the last few days, I've realized that a lot of it comes down to it's part of your lesson. Like there's nothing anyone outside of you can do to expedite your healing except for you. But what you can do is listen and learn and read. And more than anything, and we're going to talk about this, is getting to know how your intuition, how your body operates, what your signs and signals are so that you know what's correct for you. Because until you do that, you will constantly be searching externally for some magical answer. And so there are amazing tools. Like I love my hair analysis. There are other tons of other modalities out there. Energy work, emotion code, massage therapy, so many things that you can do to incorporate into your health. And as I was thinking about what brought this up is this morning I was doing some somatic yoga because I've had this pain in my elbow and it it started it usually okay, so let me back up. So I had it in my other elbow last year. And so because I know how to figure out what's going on in my body, I went into my emotion code stuff and I realized, okay, there's a change that needs to be made that I'm not making. And knowing that, I ignored that. So then I went to one of my favorite energy workers who is a massive healer. Her name's Allison Gilchrist, and she's if you go back through the feeds, she actually has an amazing podcast we recorded together that tells more about how her journey and how she got into what she's doing. But when I went to her, I was having that pain last year, and she said, "There's a change that you need to make that you're not making." And I was like, I knew immediately what it was. And so I said, okay, fine, I'm going to do it because I'm tired of the pain. So fast forward a couple of months when I made the change, the pain went away. So again, that was more validation for me in the things that I already know that you know your body knows how to heal itself. You've just got to figure out why it's giving you that signal, which is my big mission right now is when you're having a symptom, your body is trying to tell you something. It doesn't mean you have to be indefinitely sick or that you this is just your life, part of your life. You have to live with pain. It's your burden to carry. Well, guess what? It's your burden to carry if you accept it. But if you want to find true healing, you have to look into multiple modalities and multiple things. We have been conditioned to trust Western medicine, and I'm not here to bash Western medicine. It is great for acute, it's a great for a lot of things, but it is not a standalone medicine. And the more you depend on it, the sicker you will get. And we can see that in statistics. More people are sick than ever before. People are getting more and more shots and injections and all kinds of, and on tons of prescriptions. Nobody's getting better. They're getting worse. There's a small handful of people who can say, yes, this helped me. And there's a small handful of people that need to be on specific prescriptions for the rest of their life because right now that's what's available, right? So much of our stuff that's going on is connected with what's going on in our head and what's going on with our energetics. So going back to the elbow situation, this So this year that now my left elbow is hurting and it's a different kind of a hurt. And so I've been going down my rabbit holes, and the other day, thanks to my other really good friend and great, amazing frequency expert, Sharon Beecher, she is really into working in with the spine and the and all the nerve endings and the thing and where the nerves in the spine go, what parts of the body. And so we have talked about this a couple times, just kind of not really in depth. And I just had a download a few days ago to look at my C6 and my C7. So I started to study those. And what I learned is that the C7 is connected to the space in my elbow that's having pain. So there's a pinched nerve in my C7. So this morning I was doing somatic yoga to work on loosening those vertebrae and relaxing them so that that nerve can become unpinched. And I'm sitting there thinking like the next step is I have several different practitioners that all could help me with this. And if I can't fix it on my own, I know what I'm doing next. And so as I built my practice, I have created a group of practitioners that I fully trust. And I did this because when I was going through my own healing journey when I was really sick, I had a board. I had a board of people, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that journey and those people. But the point I'm trying to make right now is it's not a one size fits all, and your body's different than anybody else's. You're just because you may have the same symptom or you may have the same chronic illness, it does not mean that you're going to heal the same way. And the reason why is because you had a different upbringing. You've experienced different trauma. You've had you ate different foods growing up. You may have grown up more healthy than somebody else. You're in a different lifestyle than that other person. You are in different relationships. And so every single part of your existence plays into your physical health and your emotional health and your spiritual health. And so there is really, in my opinion, no other way to fully heal your body than to incorporate all things and to find the right people. And the only way that you can do that is A, experimenting. It's just trial and error, because I can put somebody on a specific supplement that will work magic for them overnight, and I can put somebody else that has the same, no one has the exact same biology when I do a scan. They may have the same needs, but the reasoning is different. So I can put the second person on that same supplement, and they're not going to have the same expedited results, or we may need to do more or tweak it or change things up a little bit. The problem is, and this is really sad, one of the big problems is we are conditioned that healthcare shouldn't cost a lot, and it shouldn't. It really shouldn't. But we have been conditioned that we pay a monthly payment and then the healthcare pays for that, and we have a giant deductible sometimes. But what I'm seeing with people is they're like, "Oh, I can only spend this much because I'm used to having my health care paid for." And so, if you truly want to heal, you have to get out of that mindset that someone else has the answers for you. And you have to really learn to listen to your intuition, and you have to make the choice to spend the money on the things that will help you get well. And when people tell me they don't have the money, and I will tell you, when I was sick, I had no money. I had no income. I was barely covering my mortgage money and my bill money with disability, like barely. I don't even know how I survived. I just was truly blessed at that time. But when people come to me and they say, I can't do that, or I can't afford to do that, there's two things that I'll say. Find a way, make a way. Because if it's meant for you and you're willing, it will come to you. What's meant for you will come to you if you open up to the possibility of it. Secondly, what are you doing in your life? Where are you spending money that you don't need to spend money if you truly want to heal? Like if you truly want to heal and you come to me and I give you a plan and you continue to buy crappy food, you're eating fast food, you're going out for coffee every day, and you say to me, I don't have the money to go to the next practitioner I need to go to or to have the next appointment I need to have, then you're not committed. And I'm just going to say it like that because that's the truth. Because if you're committed, like for me, I was committed because I didn't want to be alive anymore. I didn't want to wake up the next day because I felt so crappy and I was so depressed and so living in fear and so worried about what was going to happen to me and how I was going to survive in my life that the easy out would have been, please just let me go to sleep and not wake up. And so if you're in that place, please seek help. I wasn't suicidal, but I just kind of had given up my life force for living. Like I was just like, whatever, it just doesn't matter anymore. And I think there's a lot of people in that place right now. So please, please, please reach out to somebody that can help you. Therapy, call a hotline, find a way to get some help. But what my point is in all of this is sometimes we get to that point before we get serious. And my whole entire life, what's the word I'm trying to think of? My life, like destiny, is to prevent people from getting to that point. Like that's like built in me to be like, I can see where you're going. Let me stop you. But I have to be really careful how I share that with people because some people aren't ready to hear it yet. So, so going back to when this all started for me is I worked for the airlines. I got very sick from my uniform. The uniforms were extremely toxic. Thousands of us got sick. People, I mean, without going into too much detail, people were really up in arms and they were having to choose their job or their health. And I chose my health. And I went through a lot of turmoil over about 2 years fighting for my rights as a worker, for my health care and health benefits, and for my health overall. And so what happened is I started with the Western medicine route, and I first started going to my first. I went to my general practitioner and had blood work done, did all the things. Then I went to an allergist. The company actually forced us to go have allergy testing, and I opted out of it because I saw people that when they did the allergy testing, their bodies were so overly chemically stimulated that the allergy testing just made them sicker. And so I had to fight my way to get workman's comp, but not take that, not opt into that allergy testing. So I opted into a very minor allergy testing. I did a lot of tests on my lungs. I had a pulmonologist. What was crazy to me looking back is none of those people were communicating with each other. So nobody knew what the other one was prescribing. Nobody knew what the other one's diagnosis was. They were just saying, here's the answer. Here's what we give everybody else. So there was a point in time where I was on 4 different inhalers. I was on steroids. I was on massive antibiotics because I kept getting UTIs because of the heavy metals in my body. There was just so much chaos going on in my body. And when they started adding all the steroids and the prescriptions on top of that, the chaos got worse. And then it began to affect my emotional health. And so, um, I want to share with you a little bit about the journey that opened me up to looking at other options and to really deciding to invest and really seeing that once that door was open for me and I was willing to step through it, the money came, the people came, whatever I needed was there to help me. And so, and I will say I did put I survived on credit cards at that time. So I had to go in debt to get well because the company that I worked for was not paying my medical benefit. They weren't paying my workman's comp. They sent me all the paperwork. They gave me a prescription card, all the things. And I remember specifically one day going in to get the last inhaler I was getting. It was $600 and they denied it. And so that's kind of was the breaking point where I went, nobody, they're not helping me. They don't care. They're not helping me. The Western medicine doctors were doing what they knew to do. It wasn't anything against them. It's just that they were prescribing a one size fits all and nobody had seen what was going on with me before because it was such an odd thing to have all this chemical poisoning from a work uniform. And I literally did. I would go into my allergist and I would sit in an office and I would bring my uniform with me and I had it sealed up in this Tupperware case because it was so toxic that if I opened the lid, I would start coughing. And I had this chronic cough that would not go away. Like I coughed just talking. And I still have damage to my lungs. It will still come up if I talk a lot or if I'm exposed to certain chemicals or if I've been eating not super great, my body will get out of whack and I'll start coughing more. But to cough constantly, I mean, I had ribs that would get put out of place. I was always in pain and it just got so old. But back to the pulmonologist or to the allergist, I would go into the allergist to do these lung tests to see if the if my uniform would cause my oxygen levels to go down and would affect my breathing. And what it's really interesting is the first time I went in, I had a paralyzed vocal cord from all the toxins. And so I would go in and they would test my breathing. I would sit in a room and they would test my breathing, and I would sit in that room with the uniform after that for about 30 minutes. And then they would test my breathing again. And I even took videos of the way my voice changed and how it affected me chemically. So if you are having any kind of respiratory stuff, it's getting more and more common because we're being exposed to more and more chemicals. So if you're buying cheap clothing, it's full of chemicals. Products are full of chemicals. So there's so many things that we're just being exposed to that we're unaware of, but there's a lot of things that we can control, we can take control of. Anyway, so then they would do my lung testing, and my lung at one point, my oxygen levels would drop like by 20 something. I think it was like, I don't remember all the numbers and the terms, but it was a drastic drop in my body's ability to breathe. And so there was nothing they could do about it other than write a note and say she can't wear this uniform. Well, when that started to happen, then there became all these loopholes, and oh, well, you can't come back to work because what happened for me is my body was so inflamed and the toxins were so, everything was bothering me that they wouldn't let me come back to work because then it was a risk. And so in the meantime, there were all these other people that were having the same issue, that were going to the emergency room mid shifts and all these things happening. And it was just being kind of swept under the carpet. So back to what happened. So when I went to have that last inhaler refilled, and they couldn't do it. And in my mind, I'm like, well, I have to have this. I'm desperate because I had put all of my trust in Western medicine, and it was all I knew. So we only can do what we know, right? Thankfully, I had some friends that had been to other alternative people, or had connections, experience. And what's really interesting is I had a really good friend come into my life at that time, at the perfect time, because she'd done a lot of this stuff. And so I remember the first thing I did is I went to a massage therapist, and I was going to get a massage. I had this pain in it was in my right side, and it was under my armpit, and it radiated all the way down into my side of my ribs, all the way to the bottom of my ribs. And it hurt to breathe, and it was just this constant pain. And so what I learned doing my research was that my lymph nodes were clogged. So I specifically went to this practitioner because she did what is called cupping. So if you've never had a massage with cupping, the type of cupping she did is she would take a glass, like a little glass cup, put fire in it, and put it on your body. And so when I went to her, two things happened. The first one was, as I said, have you ever cupped somebody on the front? And she said, no, but we can try it. And the second thing she said to me is, have you ever had Reiki? And I'm like, no, I don't even know what that is. And she goes, are you okay if I do that? And I said, yes, because at that point I was like, do whatever you can because I'm in so much pain right now. So the first thing that happened is she put the cupping on. I had her put it right here. If you're not watching the video, just right where my shoulder and my armpit and just kind of my chest all meet together. I had her put it right there. And then she was doing the Reiki, and there was a point where she came up to my body, and my heart started beating super, super, super fast. And I remember thinking, what is she learning about? What does she know about me? Like I always prior to all my work had this fear that like people knew things about me that I didn't want them to know. It was very weird. It's very weird. I got to go into some past life stuff about that. But my heart started beating, but at the end of it I felt so calm. And the really cool thing is that pain was almost 100% gone. And do you know that when it finally went away, it never came back? I've had it come back before, just very, very minutely, but now I've learned that that's my body's signal that I'm too toxic, that your lymph nodes are working slowly. You need to get on a drainage activator, and you need to start eating cleaner. You need to move more, and you need to have more water. So the second person I went to was somebody who did bioscanning, and that's a different kind of scan than what I do. And I went to her because she gives out supplements. I had a really good friend that was telling me, you need to go see this lady. And I kept going, psh, yeah, I don't believe in that stuff. And so I finally, because I was desperate enough, went to her. And when she scanned my body, that scan told me so many things. It was crazy. But one of the big things that stood out that I remember from then is that I um, had tons of plastic in my body. And what happened is what we deducted is that at the time, because I was a flight attendant, I was literally living off plastic water bottles for my drinks. I just had a plastic water bottle with me constantly because that's what we have on the airplanes. And we would take them onto layovers. And I didn't know the danger of plastics. And so I really worked on getting plastics as much as I could out of my body. So she put me on the first time I went to her, it was when I was at that point where I was at the very worst, where I was like, I don't want to wake up. I'm so depressed. I don't know what to do. She gave me a tincture that had a specific vibration in it, and that tincture within 5 hours fixed my depression. Within 5 hours. And I always will say that she is the person that saved my life because I just needed to get out of that dark place. The next thing that happened is I started to watch Joe Dispenza videos, and I started to understand that when I was waking up every day, not only in fear, but mad and angry at the company, mad and angry at life in general, and really just waking up going, I hate that I'm going to feel like crap, and really just expecting to feel crappy every day. And what I learned through Joe Dispenza was that I needed to completely change the way I was thinking. I needed to wake up with gratitude. And I created a whole morning ritual, which I won't get into that because I have too many other things I want to cover. Maybe I'll do a different one on morning rituals. But I I became really religious about not only listening to him, but also about morning gratitude before my feet hit the floor, and then some other specific things. And what I noticed is my health started to improve. And so the reason that I'm actually I wanted to create this podcast episode is because these little things combined are what are going to expedite your healing. Like those couple of things massively changed things immediately. And now I've seen this happen with my clients when they go all in. And when I send them to other practitioners, they come back and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did that." And so your healing isn't just a one size fits all. It's not a one stop. It's not a there's layers to it, but it's also all inclusive. You've got to work on your emotional, mental state. You've got to work on the actual physical ailments in your nutrition and the things and the exercise and the things around the nutrition. And you've got to work on your connection to spirit. So it's going to be different for everyone, right? And it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. I promise you, I was not all or nothing. I was like, I'll try this today and I'll try this. And what I ended up doing is having this board of people that were my healers. And then I went to another energy worker, Jeanette, and Jeanette's been on as well. And she uncovered the blocks around my heart that were I would say they were a contributor to the issues that were going on with my lungs because my work with her lifted that weight off my chest. And that was a huge part of my healing. There was a lot of guilt, a lot of blocks around my heart, and a lot of trust, but there was a big one about forgiveness. And so these are things I would never have discovered on my own because I wouldn't have known where to go or where to look. And so I want to just jump into human design for a minute with this because we are going to talk about intuition. This is why you need to know your strategy and authority. Because when somebody says to you, you should go try this, and your body will tell you immediately, well, okay, let me back up. Not everybody has the immediate, but your body will tell you in some way or some form or another if it's correct for you. Most of us, it's pretty immediate. Your brain will say, that's weird. I don't trust that. That's nothing in my psyche that I've ever considered. And so your brain is going to make you say no. And so, what I really want you to gain from this is that you are the sovereign being that is in charge of everything that happens to you. And when you reject something that is for you, you're doing it from your programming. And so, what you've got to start to do is you've got to learn the way that your body feels. So one of the practitioners I went to, it was like the third appointment with them. And they were suggesting something, and I don't remember what it was, but I remember saying no. I remember just being so directly being like, nope, that's not for me. And that might be one of the very first times that I really realized that my body knew what was for me. And so I want to tell you this because when someone sits in my office, and it's one of the reasons why I'm now I'm doing human design with people before I even do a scan, because if you understand your own energetics, I'm just a human being, right? So I have a lot of knowledge, and I can tap into your energy, and I can use scientific things to know what's for you. But nobody has that knowledge deeper than your inner truth, that your true self. And so if you're sitting with me and my intentions are, full on, I want you to get well, but I suggest something and your body just says no, it could be the timing's not right. If you're saying no because it's a money thing or a fear thing, that's different. And that's my point is you've got to learn to recognize how to say, I don't think that feels right. Yeah, I don't think that's the thing because then together we can figure it out what's the next thing. We can use muscle testing, we can use other ways to ask your body, but you have to learn how to be first with that. And so like for instance, if you were sitting in my office and we had that situation come up, then I have the ability, if you're a sacral authority, then I can say, okay, let me ask you some yes or no questions around that. And then I can find out if it's coming from logic or the body is really telling you that. So that's really the gist of that's one of the biggest things I want you to get from this is that when you sit in any office, especially a Western medicine office, they have gone to school, they have learned a specific way of how to do things, and their belief systems are very fixed. And so if they tell you something from their knowledge and their belief system, that does not mean it's for you. And I cannot tell you how many people come to me and they're like, my doctor told me I should get on this medication and I just felt like I shouldn't. And I'm like, trust that. Trust that. And that's why you're here with me because we're going to find a roundabout way to get you the same result without doing more damage to your body or creating side effects. So, so moving on in my story, what that did is it opened up my belief systems and it expanded my realization of what is out there in the world and that whatever I need will come to me if I'm open to it, if I ask for it, and if I put myself in the situation where I can find it. Now, there's a lot of information out there right now. There's a lot of free information. And this is the conundrum that I'm seeing people get into is they get online, they get on social media, scroll, take a little information here, a little information here, a little information here. They get extremely confused, they get frustrated. This is another place where you have to use your intuition, right? But we are here to help each other. So whether it's me, whether it's somebody else that you know, or you need to deep dive and find the right person for you, do that because we're here. We all have specific gifts and talents to help other people. And so you've got to get in a place energetically where you're just drawn to the people that are correct for you. And that's been so cool for me because I cannot even tell you the amazing people that have come into my life when I opened up that door. So the other point I want to make about my story that I see people get frustrated with their own journey is that it's not a one size fits all. It's not quick. Some people have quicker results than others. It depends on how much emotional stuff, how much stress you have going on, how much toxicity you have in your body, how bad your nutrition is. So it's all going to depend on that. So you've got to give yourself a year. It doesn't mean you have to see somebody every week for a year, but if you want to be engaged and have accountability, if you know that you're not a good follow through person or that it's hard for you to change habits, get in a program with somebody because if you're not in a program, chances are you're going to keep slipping back. Now, if you financially can't afford to do that, find people who are passionate about sharing what they know. Find one or two people that you trust and follow them because that's going to open your intuition on, okay, what they said really resonates with me. I'm going to try that. But at least go do the initial things that you need to do. Most of us as practitioners, we're busy, so we can't be answering texts all day long. However, for my practice, if you're working like you've come to me one time and you're in a stuck place and you don't have the money to come back for an appointment, I'm going to text you back. Like, I want you to get well. I don't want anyone to come to me and be like, oh, I had one appointment and, um, now I don't know what to do. Okay, you have to do your part on that, right? So you have to find a way to make more appointments. And this is not just me, this is everybody, any practitioner you're going to. Or you have to be willing to do the work yourself and deep dive like I did. I spent years figuring stuff out. And then I would have miraculous things like the scan come into my life that were another step to healing. So it took me about 2 years from the time I got sick to the time that I felt like I was almost at 100% to get there. But I'll tell you, when I really jumped in and went all in, it took about 3 months to really get to where I was like, okay, I'm healing. I can do this. My life's going to be okay. I can survive. The biggest thing that I see with people, and this is such in my design to be so in your face about it. And I've for many years held back. And this year I just had the download. You've got to just be truthful. You have to tell the truth. You can't tiptoe around things. You just got to be truthful because that's what's going to help people. The reality is if you're not getting better, there's a reason behind that. So you have got to get to the bottom of that. If you are working on your health and you're not trusting the person you're working with and doing what they're showing you to do, you got to figure out why that is. And what is it with most of us, it's just self-worth. It's like we don't value ourselves enough to put the time, the energy, and the money into taking care of ourselves. And so if you're struggling with your health and you're frustrated and you're ticked off at people because you've gone and spent money and you didn't get healed, that's on you because somewhere there's a block, somewhere something stopped. And so going again back to the intuition, I want you to think about that. Are you just blindly going to see people in hopes and desperation? Because I was there. That's actually how I found my board is I was like, I'm desperate. I'll try anything. And I was lucky enough watched over enough to just go to the right people. I ended up going to a lady who is a psychic. I didn't know she was a psychic at the time because that was way beyond my belief system. And now I'm just like, woo, yes, I love it all. But she did a work called emotion code and she did it very differently. It was almost like going into a therapy session. But she knew things that she shouldn't know. So after I'd been to her, I was like, she's a psychic. Um, but my point in all of that is that I just got led to these people and I started listening to my intuition and I had ultimate trust, like undying trust that certain people would be able to help me. And they collectively helped me. Had I only gone to one, I don't think that I would have healed the way that I healed. And that's why I have my board of practitioners. That's why I have energy healers, massage therapists, acupuncturists, therapists. Like I have a whole board of healers because I can't do it by myself. And you can't do it by yourself because that's what we're here to do. We're here to help each other. The majority of the work to be done is going to be done by you. It's going to be done by your commitment level. It's going to be in what you do at home. It's going to be how you wake up and go to bed every day, the time that you put into really connecting spiritually, meditating, slowing down, taking time outs, having days off, getting out of the busy world. There's so many things that you can do on your own just without going to see anyone right now that will massively change your health. So we talk about that. If you go back into past episodes, I talk a lot about your nervous system and how to change things that you're doing to get that nervous system back under control. So, um, again, I just want to reiterate mind, body, spirit. You've got to have kind of a little practice in everything. So let's just say you're in a place where you're like, okay, right now, I'm not really sure what to do. I'm having some symptoms. I don't feel super great. I'm kind of sick of it. I'm not sure who to go to, or maybe you don't have the money to go to somebody right now. What do you do? What can you do? So I'm going to give you a couple things to do spiritually, emotionally, physically that you can start your health journey with. And I want you to go in all in on it for a week at least and see what happens. Okay. So physical, we'll start with physical. Most people are eating not enough nutrition, on the run, packaged processed and foods because they're too busy, fast food. Um, So it's what you're putting in. So what you're putting in is creating your physiology. So if you're putting chemicals in your body's going to be sick. If you're putting low energy food into your body, you're going to have low energy. If you're putting things in your body that you're addicted to, and I'm not saying you can't have a treat once in a while. If you like to have a beverage, a cocktail, you can do those things once you heal the body, but you really need to go all in at some point and get that baseline healing done. But what I'm saying is that if it's a lot for you to just quit things cold turkey, and it's going to cause more stress for you, then you need to pick something to change. So set a small goal with your nutrition, like, okay, I'm going to start eating breakfast every day. That's one of the big things I see with women is they skip breakfast. I eat breakfast, but I eat a very late breakfast. So it doesn't mean you have to get up and have this breakfast. We got to go with somewhat intuitive eating, but also your human design will tell you exactly how you eat. And one of the things I've noticed, I've been bugged with my weight lately because I've gone through menopause. I'm in menopause. I don't know what the words are. Um, but I've gained some weight around my belly and I was blaming it on the menopause. But what I've realized is I got away from my intuitive eating. So once I healed my body, I was really strict about how I ate for about 2 years. But once I kind of started falling back into maybe not being as perfect as I was back then, which is okay because you have to live, right? I realized that I started eating completely differently. And my human design is the type of design where I just need to go, I just want to eat this right now. Oh, that sounds good a couple hours later. I'm like a picker eater or a one thing at a time eater. And so what I was doing is more eating like full on 5 course meal type things. Does that make sense? So when you start to understand that stuff, you can dial in. Now, since I brought up menopause, I also want to tell you many of you are really struggling with menopause, and maybe we'll do another episode on this, but I need to get somebody like an expert on, but I'll tell you from figuring it out on my own, you don't want to do hormone replacement therapy. It's going to throw your hormones off. If anything you put in your body that doesn't belong, like that your body it makes on its own, it makes it stop trying to make it. So if you're just having issues with your hormones, you got to fix the root cause of why the hormones are having issues. So when we're going through menopause, there's a reason for that. But my point and why I'm bringing it up now is that it took me some time to find the right supplements, to figure out what was causing the hot flashes, I had to try a bunch of different things and I had to spend some money on some different supplements to see if they worked until I found the right combination that worked for me. And what I've learned with people now, I can't tell people the exact thing that worked for them or for me is going to work for them. And so going in on anything you're working on in your body, you have to understand that there is an experimental side of it. That is what Western medicine, that's why it's called practicing medicine. They're just throwing darts at the board and hoping something sticks. So the problem is in Western medicine, it's an extra expenses to your body because you're being exposed to lots of frequency and radiation with all the tests. You're being put on prescriptions. There's a lot of things that if you just learn to listen to your intuition and really go with what's correct for you personally, and it may be some Western medicine things. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. I'm never going to tell you to not listen to a medical provider, but just do your research, gain your knowledge, understand the costs and the side effects of what happens when you take a prescription, when you have an injection. All of those things have a um oh, what's the word I want it? It's like there's a movie the words I'm trying to think of. There's a collateral damage to it. You're going to pay. You take a prescription, it's going to do something to your body. Whether you feel it massively depends on your body. Some people can take a prescription and not have a side effect. Some people can have breast implants and not have side effects. I believe anything you put foreign into your body is going to react. It just depends on how bad of shape you're in, how badly it's going to react. So one of the big keys with that is your immune system. So what you eat, so let's get back to the physical. What you eat massively affects your immune system. How much exercise you get, how much exposure to negativity, how much stress you have. Your immune system is massively being attacked right now. So, along with eating healthy foods, you've got to really protect your energy and get out of the stress mode. Like some of us are just so programmed to be busy that we don't know how to sit still. And I can say that from experience. And I love to sit still now. So, back to the physical, pick something small. It could be starting to eat breakfast every day. You got to include protein. My favorite thing is a smoothie, just packed with all the greens you can get in it and a little bit of fruit. Put in some fats like an avocado, or you can put coconut oil in it. There's a bunch of ways that you can do that. The other thing health wise is what can you eliminate? What are you eating that you need to eliminate? I'm always going to tell you gluten's one of the number one drivers of problems in your body. It's really tough if you eat a lot of gluten to get it out of your system, to quit eating it. It takes about 90 days to get it completely out of your system. So for some of you, that's going to be too big, too fast, but it's actually going to be one of the bigger, you're going to see more results from that. Bad oils from fast food. Stop eating vegetable oils, buying cheap oils to put on your salads. You want to use coconut oil, avocado oil, or olive oil. And they want to be clean, like organic, good products. These things are so the bad oils are just toxic to your body. They're the way they make them turns them into straight poison. And so if you're eating a lot of fast food or you're eating out a lot, you're consuming a lot of those bad oils. Um, Another thing that you can do for your physical health is just get moving. Make a goal to go walk around the block every single day, and then you'll start to see how it makes you feel better, and then you can go longer and longer and longer. If you have to multitask, I multitask most of the time when I walk, but if you've got a lot of stress, leave your phone behind and just go get really present in nature and start noticing, oh my gosh, I've never noticed that bush right there. I've never noticed how pretty that yard is. I've never noticed how the clouds look different all the time. Whatever it is, that will bring you to presence. So if you've got your phone in your pocket, that's going to take you out of presence. Okay, second, so those are just a few physical. I'm sure you can think of a million other. I don't want to keep going on and on with this one. Maybe we'll expand and do some separate episodes on each one, but emotional. The first thing that I would say, the first thing that comes to mind for me for emotional health is start journaling and getting your feelings out. You cannot get trauma out of the cells of your body until you process it. And oftentimes we need help with traditional therapy. I work with a couple of therapists that use alternative modalities, so it's a million times better than traditional therapy. Some therapists use alternative medicines to help with that. But while you're getting started, just start writing. What are you angry about? What happened to you that has just made you carry anger? What are you upset about? What are you stressed out about? Get it out on paper because as you get it out, if you're writing it, your brain will actually start to come up with solutions, so purging actually removes the stress from your body, but gives you solutions to some of the current problems that you have because you're tapped into a higher power. So as you're doing the work and that higher power is going to see they're asking for help. I'm going to jump in and help. Okay. So that kind of goes into spiritual as well, but for emotional, express your emotions, use your voice. There is nothing. Do you know how many times in my life I have like him hoo-hawed and him-hawed about should I say this? Do I dare to say this? Is it going to cause a huge catastrophe? And there were times in my life where if I used my voice, it would cause a catastrophe. And I was very fearful of using my voice. Now I know if I use my voice and it becomes something I need to be afraid of, then I shouldn't be in that situation, right? But that took me many years to figure that out. Now I've learned that if I use my voice and I just say how I feel, whoever it is doesn't have to understand it. They don't have to agree with what I'm saying, but I'm getting it out. And if I'm communicating properly, then I'm explaining to them why I feel the way I feel and also letting them off the hook by saying, this isn't you, this is my stuff that's coming up because we just had this conversation or whatever. So really start to work on unstuffing your emotions. Get them out. If you have to scream, if you have to go running, whatever you do to get your emotions out, if you have to punch a punching bag, find a way for you to release that energy because that trapped, pent up energy is making you sick. It's one of the biggest reasons people are sick. Spiritual, you've got to have a spiritual connection. So, whatever you believe in, whether it's universe, God, source, whatever you call it, You have to connect to that in order to really understand what your next steps are, who you want to have in your life, who you need to meet. You will be totally guided when you start trusting that your inner guide knows everything you need to know, but sometimes, most of the time, you need to tap into your higher power to get the answers to remember. So just think of it as you came in here with this internal program, like this data chip, and you were fully aware of all the data in there, but it just kind of got wiped away. And so as you start to rediscover yourself, you're not learning, you're not fixing yourself, you're remembering. You're remembering your purpose. You're remembering that you didn't come here to experience pain, that you came here to have experiences that are great and to have joy and to meet the correct people in your life. I believe all of our encounters with people are for a reason, good and bad. We get to choose how long we keep them in our lives though, because we're always learning a lesson. So spiritually, that's where your morning ritual comes in, or your nighttime ritual. That could be journaling, that could be oracle cards, that could be just sitting outside in the quiet with nothing else going on and really listening and asking for answers and listening. So there's a lot of ways you can connect to spirit. Nature for me is a connection to spirit. Just being alone with my oracle cards is a connection to spirit. There's so many things, so many ways that you can start tapping into that. Um, let's see. The other big one is letting go of things that you can't control. You've got to really get good at saying, is this something that I can control that I should be worried about, or should I just let this go and see how it plays out? What's interesting is one of the things I've been going deep into lately with clients and with myself is my incarnation cross in my human design. And what's really interesting is mine is the cross of prevention. What I've discovered is I have a 5-1 profile and I'm a manifesting generator. So there's a lot of solution orientation going. Like I love to find solutions. If you talk to me, it's so hard for me to not try to solve your problems, even if you don't ask me to. And I've had to learn to step back and be like, "Ugh." But the incarnation cross of prevention makes me that takes it to another extreme where I can see what people are doing that are going to cause a problem in their life and I have this need to fix it. And so, what that's done for me as a human, it's taken away a lot of joy for a lot of my life because I'm trying to always prevent, not only for myself, my cross is transpersonal, meaning that I'm here to help other people. But because of that and that like innate knowledge of if they do that, this is going to happen. This is unsafe. This could be the consequence of that. It's massively affected me from taking chances for a big part of my life, but it's made me kind of the killjoy for people because I'll be like, that's risky. That you shouldn't be doing that. It's caused a lot of judgment also as well in my life. And it's something that I just put all of that together as I'm like, I'm here to help people solve their problems, find solutions, prevent things from happening or getting worse. But they have to want it, right? They have to be ready for it. So I cannot control what's going on outside of me, and neither can you. You can control your thoughts and you can control your actions. And when you learn to trust your intuition, that becomes much easier to just let go and let people have their journey. You have to remember people came here to have an experience and you don't get to control it. You don't get to decide how their experience is going to play out or what the outcome is going to be. And the faster you can learn that and just go, well, I guess we'll just see what happens. Now, you do get to choose if you participate in that. So you can say, you know what? I see you going down, doing this thing or going down this lane that does not look good. I'm going to step away right now because I don't want to be part of that. But you can't control their outcome. This happens with kids. This happens with partners and spouses. You just have to let them do their thing. But again, respecting yourself and removing yourself if they're destructive, if they're dangerous, or if they're just doing something that goes against your values and you're like, I can't be part of that. So many of us are in the programming that we have to stick with spouses, partners, work relationships, friendships, even family relationships because of that connection. You don't have to stick with anything that goes against your core values. But the sad thing is a lot of people don't even know what their core values are because someone else told them what they are. So that's another way that you can really create some connection to spirit and sit down and just really think about what are my core values? Like, what is the most important to me? What is an absolute no for me? I remember as a young girl, there's one specific thing that I will not get into right now that I always said, if this were to happen, this is an absolute no for me, done, right? And when it happened, programming made me not stick to my inner core truth. So, how often are you doing that? Okay, that is causing issues in your body. Your body is always, always, always going to tell you if you are out of alignment. And that's why I do what I do. That is why I'm always pushing you to take care of yourself. Have self-love. Like, stop talking mean to yourself. You've gone through a lot. You've been through a lot. You're amazing. Some of you have been through things that others of us could never have survived, and you've come out on top. And some of you are in the midst of it right now. Just give yourself some grace. It's not forever. You have the ability, if you'll just connect, you can get healthy again. You can get out of the physical and emotional trauma that you're in. You can reconnect to a much, much higher power that has so many answers for you, but you've got to trust. And so many of us have had our trust broken so many times that we don't even trust ourselves anymore. It's like, I remember I've had this conversation with multiple clients. When you make a really bad choice and it has a long-term consequence in your life, you become really nervous about making choices. And what I'm seeing that so much in social media in the women's and mom groups, people are asking opinions on things that are common sense. Nobody knows how to make a decision anymore. And what that says to me is we are so out of touch with our intuition. We're jumping on AI to get answers. We're jumping on we're asking complete strangers for answers for our lives. Your answers are in here. So I may be a complete stranger to you. I am not here to give you a be all end all answer. I'm here to tell you I'm here to actually teach you how to learn how to listen to yourself, how to understand your own body's energetics, how you operate in the world, your specific design, so that you don't have to question anymore. It is the most amazing thing to just go, you know what? I know the answer to that, and it's a no. And the second step of that is to let go of what everybody thinks about it, which is a whole other episode. So I hope that was helpful. Pick one thing, okay? One thing. Honestly, if I were going to pick it for you, I would say sit down and journal and get clear on what you want in your life, what you don't want in your life, and what's causing you the most stress. And that's a really good place to start. But then you've got to get the courage to take the action. And I'm here to help you if you want help. If you're ready to get started, um, I have a new group coaching program coming up. It'll start up at the end of August. I'm just filling up the wait list for it right now, so I'll put the link in the show notes. If you're interested in being part of that, get on the wait list. There's a questionnaire that's going to ask specific questions so I know if you're a good fit. If you want to work one-on-one, I only work one-on-one with programs. If you want a human design basic reading, I do one-offs on those. But as far as working with people on their physical health and like mind, body, spirit together, I only do it through a 3-month program because after doing this for as long as I've done it, I know that just coming to me one time is you may create awareness, which is great, but all of us need a second layer of help. Most of us, very few of us are really major self starters unless we're super, super desperate or we have a lot of time on our hands to do our own research, which I had that when I was sick. So please reach out if you have questions. I'd love to hear your stories. I'd love to hear your growth. But I hope you got something out of that. I hope you'll come back. And I would love to see you in at least the group coaching program because it is going to be so fun. You're going to have an amazing community and you're going to meet some amazing, amazing, not only practitioners, but just other women who are going through a lot of the same things that you're going through. So hope to see you there and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.